What if I told you that the moment your alarm goes off tomorrow morning, before you even open your eyes, before you say a single word, before you take your first conscious breath, you are already making a decision that will either protect or slowly damage the most loyal organ in your body? Not a decision you made today, not one you made last week. A decision you have been making every single morning on autopilot for years, maybe decades. And here is the terrifying part. It feels completely normal. It feels routine. It even feels healthy to some people. The morning is not just the beginning of your day. For your heart, the morning is the most vulnerable window of every 24 hours. The transition from sleep to wakefulness is a biological event, a full system reboot that floods your body with stress hormones, shifts your blood pressure, and demands an enormous amount of coordinated effort from your cardiovascular system. Your heart, in those first 60 to 90 minutes after you wake up, is working harder than almost any other time of your rest cycle. And what do most people do during that sacred biological window? They destroy it. Quietly, repeatedly, without ever knowing. If you are watching this for the first time, hit that subscribe button right now, because what I am about to share with you in the next few minutes is going to permanently change the way you think about your mornings, your habits, and above all, your heart. And if you have been here before, you already know. We do not talk about health in this channel the way everyone else does. We talk about your heart the way it deserves to be talked about. As the extraordinary, tireless, irreplaceable companion that chose to spend every single second of your life with you. Your heart did not ask for a perfect body. It did not ask for a stress-free life. It asked for nothing. It simply showed up, about 22 days after you were conceived, before you even had eyes, before you had a brain that could think. And it started beating. It has never stopped since. Not once. Not for a single moment. And it will keep beating through every bad morning habit you throw at it, right up until the moment it simply cannot anymore. So the question is not whether your heart is strong enough to survive your habits. The question is, for how long? By the end of this video, I promise you, the way you see your morning routine will be completely transformed. Every point I am going to share with you today carries real biological weight. But pay close attention to the last one, because in my opinion, it is the most underestimated danger of all. It is the one that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the one that is hurting you the most. Let us begin. The alarm that attacks you before you wake up. Here's what most people do. The alarm goes off. They hit snooze. It goes off again. They hit snooze again, maybe 3, 4, 5 times. They lie in that warm, half-conscious fog, drifting in and out of sleep, feeling like they are stealing a few extra precious minutes of rest. It feels kind. It feels gentle. It feels like self-care. It is not. Here is what the science reveals. During the final stages of sleep, your body begins a carefully orchestrated process of preparation for wakefulness. Your cortisol levels, your primary stress hormone, begin rising naturally in what researchers call the cortisol awakening response, or CAR. This is not a malfunction. This is your biology being brilliant. Your body is gradually warming up your cardiovascular system, preparing your heart to handle the demands of an active day. But when you hit snooze, you interrupt that process. Your brain, receiving the signal that sleep is over, begins mobilizing your system. Heart rate rising, blood pressure climbing, cortisol surging. And then, when you fall back into shallow sleep, it has to partially reverse that process. And then the alarm goes off again, and the whole chaotic surge happens again, and again, and again. Every single snooze cycle you add is another unnecessary spike in cardiovascular demand. Researchers at the University of Notre Dame have studied how this fragmented awakening pattern affects heart rate variability, a critical marker of cardiac resilience. And what they found is deeply sobering. People who repeatedly use the snooze function show significantly worse heart rate variability in the first hour of their morning, compared to those who wake up once and get up. Heart rate variability. Remember that term. It is one of the most important indicators of how well your heart can adapt to stress. High variability means your heart is flexible, responsive, and resilient. Low variability means your heart is struggling, constantly bracing, never recovering. Now think about what this means emotionally. Your heart, that organ that has never once asked you for anything, that has beaten somewhere between 2 and 3 billion times in your lifetime without a single vacation, begins every morning already under attack. Not from a disease, not from an enemy, from a button, from you. The practical shift is this. Choose one alarm, just one. Place your phone or alarm clock across the room so you are physically forced to get up to turn it off. Once you are standing, your body's awakening cascade can complete itself naturally, smoothly, without the chaotic spikes of repeated interruption. Give your heart the gift of a clean, uninterrupted start. It has earned that much. The coffee you drink before anything else. Here's what most people do. They wake up, stumble to the kitchen, and within minutes, sometimes within seconds, they are brewing or pouring their first cup of coffee. No water, no food, just coffee. Strong, hot, immediate coffee. This is the morning ritual of millions of people across the world, and it is wrapped in cultural identity, in comfort, in the feeling of finally, the day can begin. And for your heart, it is a quiet act of aggression. Here is the biological reality. When you drink caffeine on a completely empty stomach, particularly in the first hour after waking, when your cortisol levels are already at their natural daily peak due to the cortisol awakening response, you are layering a powerful stimulant on top of a hormonal surge that your body is already managing. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors in your brain. Adenosine is the chemical that makes you feel tired. When caffeine blocks those receptors, your brain interprets the situation as an emergency and triggers the release of adrenaline. Your heart rate increases, your blood pressure rises, your blood vessels constrict. This is the energy you feel. But between roughly 6 and 9 in the morning, your cortisol is already elevated. You do not need the adrenaline push. Your system is already preparing itself. What you are doing when you drink caffeine in that window, particularly on an empty stomach, is creating a chemical pileup. Cortisol and adrenaline simultaneously flooding your cardiovascular system. Blood pressure spiking. Heart rate climbing unnecessarily high. And your heart, that faithful, chemical-sensitive engine, registering every single fluctuation. Research published in the Journal of the American Heart Association has consistently linked habitual morning coffee consumption before eating, particularly in people who drink more than 2 to 3 cups, with elevated blood pressure patterns that persist well beyond the morning window. And for individuals who already carry stress throughout their day, this morning chemical signature sets the tone for the entire cardiovascular arc of the next 16 hours. The transformation in perspective is this. Coffee is not evil. Coffee, consumed correctly, has real cardiovascular benefits, and we will address that another day. But the timing matters enormously. Your heart does not just feel the coffee, it reads it. Every morning, through the precise chemical language of hormones and neurotransmitters, your heart is receiving a message. Right now, for millions of people, that message is, we are under threat. Brace. The practical change. Wait at least 90 minutes after waking before your first cup of coffee. Drink water first. We will come back to that. Eat something small before or with your coffee. And if you drink more than 2 cups before noon, begin the process of reducing that number, not because coffee is your enemy, but because your heart deserves to receive it as a gift rather than a shock. The dehydration. You wake up in every single day. Here is what most people do. They sleep for 7 or 8 hours, breathe through the night, lose moisture through perspiration, and then wake up in a state of mild dehydration and do nothing about it. They reach for their phone, they make their coffee, they jump in the shower. They move through the first hour of their day in a physiological state that every cardiologist in the world would recognize as cardiovascular stress. But it does not feel like stress. It feels like morning. Here is what the science says. During sleep, you lose between half a liter and a full liter of water through breathing and perspiration alone. You wake up every single morning in a state of relative dehydration. This is not a medical emergency in a healthy person, but it is a condition that has a direct, measurable impact on your heart. When your blood volume is reduced, which is exactly what happens when you are dehydrated, your heart has to work harder to circulate that reduced volume to all your organs and tissues. It compensates by increasing heart rate and, in many cases, vasoconstriction, the narrowing of blood vessels. Studies from institutions including Harvard Medical School have consistently shown that even mild dehydration increases the viscosity of blood, essentially making it thicker, stickier, harder to pump. Thicker blood moves through your coronary arteries with more resistance. Thicker blood is more prone to clotting. Thicker blood means your heart is doing the equivalent of trying to push honey through a garden hose every single morning. And it is doing it before breakfast, before movement, before anything else. Now here is the emotional weight of this. Your heart is a muscle. Not a metaphor, not a symbol. A muscle. And like every muscle in your body, it needs adequate hydration to function at its peak. The difference is that every other muscle in your body gets a break. Your legs stop running. Your arms stop lifting. Your heart never stops. It beats 100,000 times a day, every day, with 0 breaks, 0 vacations, 0 moments of rest. And you are asking it to begin each of those days already working harder than necessary because you have not given it water. The practical instruction is almost embarrassingly simple. Place a glass or bottle of water on your nightstand before you go to sleep tonight. When your alarm goes off tomorrow morning, before the coffee, before the phone, before anything, drink it. All of it. 300 to 500 milliliters of water within the first 15 minutes of waking. This single habit, sustained consistently, reduces morning blood viscosity, supports healthy blood pressure patterns, and gives your heart a physiological head start that no supplement, no biohack, and no morning ritual trend can replace. Water is not glamorous, but it is the language your heart speaks most fluently, the posture that crushes your cardiovascular system. Here is what most people do. They wake up, roll over, reach immediately for their phone, and spend the first 20 to 40 minutes of their morning hunched over a small glowing screen. Neck bent forward, shoulders rounded inward, chest collapsed, breathing shallow. Eyes fixed. They check messages, scroll news, open social media, absorb information. And their body is folded into a shape that has a direct, documented impact on their heart. This is not about blue light. This is not about screen addiction, though those are real concerns. This is about the physical geometry of your body and what it does to your cardiovascular and nervous system in the most sensitive window of your entire day. Here is the biological truth. The position commonly known as forward head posture, where your chin juts forward and downward, your chest compresses and your shoulders roll in, creates measurable restriction in thoracic expansion. In plain terms, your lungs cannot fully open. Your breathing becomes shallow, chest-centered rather than diaphragm-centered. And shallow breathing, particularly in the morning, keeps your nervous system locked in sympathetic dominance, the biological state of stress, alertness, and threat response. Your heart is exquisitely sensitive to the balance between your sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, and your parasympathetic nervous system, rest and repair. When you spend the first 30 to 40 minutes of your morning in a hunched, screen-focused posture with shallow breathing, you are biologically signaling to your heart, "We are not safe yet. Stay on alert." And your heart listens. Research in the field of psychophysiology has demonstrated that morning phone use in non-upright postures is associated with elevated cortisol persistence, meaning the stress hormone that was supposed to taper off after its natural peak continues circulating at elevated levels for longer than it should. This extended cortisol exposure has downstream effects on blood pressure, inflammatory markers, and endothelial function, the health of the inner lining of your blood vessels. The emotional reframe is this. Your heart is listening to your body's posture the way a child listens to a parent's tone of voice. It does not hear words. It reads signals. And when your first signal every morning is compression, restriction, and shallow breathing, your heart registers that as the emotional signature of a day already defined by stress. You are not just slouching. You are teaching your heart what kind of day it is about to have. The practical change. For the first 20 minutes after waking, do not touch your phone. Stand up straight. Step outside if you can, even briefly. Take 5 deep, full diaphragmatic breaths, expanding your belly rather than your chest. Reach your arms overhead. Open your chest. Let your body receive the morning through an open, expansive posture, rather than a collapsed, defensive one. You are not just stretching. You are sending your heart a different message. We are okay. We are safe. You can relax into this day. The breakfast silence that isolates your heart. Here is what most people do. They eat breakfast, if they eat it at all, alone. Scrolling a phone, watching news, reading something. Or they skip breakfast entirely and consume their morning in isolation, moving from bedroom to bathroom to car to office without a single moment of genuine human connection. They call this efficiency. They call this a productive morning. Their heart calls it something else. Here is what the science of social biology has established with remarkable clarity. Human beings are not simply social by preference. We are social by design. The presence of genuine human connection, a conversation, a shared moment, physical proximity to someone we feel safe with, triggers the release of oxytocin, a neuropeptide that has direct cardiovascular effects. Oxytocin lowers blood pressure. It reduces cortisol. It decreases inflammatory markers. It improves endothelial function. Researchers at the University of North Carolina have demonstrated that individuals who begin their day with even brief positive social interaction show measurably lower cardiovascular stress responses throughout the day. The effect is not trivial. It is not a rounding error in the data. The cardiovascular protection offered by morning social connection is comparable in some studies to the effects of moderate physical exercise. Think about what this means in a culture that has normalized and even celebrated solitary, screen-mediated mornings. Millions of people are beginning every day in a state of what researchers call social isolation stress, a low-grade but physiologically real form of threat response that activates the same biological systems as physical danger. Your heart does not distinguish between being chased by a predator and spending every morning completely disconnected from another human being. Both register as threat. Both trigger the same cascade of stress hormones. The deeper emotional truth is this. Your heart is a social organ. This is not poetry. It is anatomy and chemistry. Your heart developed in an evolutionary context where isolation meant danger, where being separated from your social group meant vulnerability to predators, to starvation, to death. Your heart still carries that ancient wiring, and every morning you spend in complete isolation, it receives a subtle but real signal that something is wrong, that you are alone, that there is no one with you. The practical instruction here is not to restructure your entire morning. It is to introduce one small anchor of genuine connection. Eat breakfast with someone you love, even for 10 minutes. Call someone important to you during your commute. Send a real message, not an emoji, not a like, but actual words to someone you care about. Make eye contact with another human being and smile before you sit down at your desk. These are not soft suggestions. They are cardiovascular prescriptions dressed in human language. Your heart has a social need. Meeting it every morning is not a luxury. It is medicine. The movement you keep postponing until later. Here is what most people do. They tell themselves they will exercise later. After work, in the evening, when things calm down. They set this intention every single morning with complete sincerity, and then life fills the day, and the evening comes, and they are tired, and tomorrow they will do it. They promise. Tomorrow for certain. Tomorrow becomes a very long time when it never quite arrives. Here is the biological imperative. Your cardiovascular system is designed for morning movement, not extreme exercise, not a brutal gym session before sunrise, but intentional, rhythmic, moderate physical movement in the morning hours triggers a cascade of effects that no other time of day can fully replicate. Morning movement completes the stress hormone cycle that began during your cortisol awakening response, converting elevated cortisol into productive physical output, rather than allowing it to circulate and accumulate as chronic cardiovascular stress. Morning movement improves nitric oxide production, a critical molecule that signals your blood vessels to dilate, improving blood flow and reducing the pressure your heart must generate to circulate blood effectively. A study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that even 10 minutes of moderate-intensity morning exercise, a brisk walk, light cycling, gentle movement, improved cognitive function, mood, and cardiovascular markers for the entire remainder of the day in ways that equivalent exercise performed in the evening did not. Your heart has a rhythm. That rhythm is not random. It is deeply synchronized with the circadian architecture of your biology. Morning movement speaks directly to that rhythm. It tells your cardiovascular system, we used our strength today. We were alive. We were present. And your heart, that faithful companion who has never missed a single beat of your life, responds with efficiency, with resilience, with the deep physiological satisfaction of being used the way it was designed to be used. The emotional weight of this final point is deliberate, because the habit of perpetual postponement is not just a scheduling failure. It is a slow withdrawal from the account of trust your heart holds with your body. Every morning you promise movement and do not deliver it. You are making a small but real deposit of neglect into that account. Not dramatically, not catastrophically, but quietly, consistently over years and decades, the interest on that neglect compounds. The practical instruction is the simplest of all 6. Tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, move for 10 minutes. Walk, stretch, dance in your kitchen. Do not optimize it. Do not plan it perfectly. Just move. Give your heart 10 minutes of intentional, present, rhythmic movement, and watch how differently it carries you through the rest of the day. So here is where we stand. 6 morning habits. 6 quiet, socially normalized, deeply ingrained behaviors that most people will never examine, never question, never connect to the organ that is working. Right now, as you watch this, without pause, without complaint, without any expectation of recognition or gratitude. But I want you to see these not as a list of failures, not as a checklist of corrections. Think of each change you make. Waking without the snooze chaos, waiting before your coffee, drinking water first, opening your posture, connecting with another human, moving your body, as a deposit in a trust account, an account that your heart has been keeping on your behalf since before you were born. Your heart did not choose you based on your health habits. It did not read your morning routine before committing to you. It simply started beating one day, and it decided, with the kind of loyalty that no human being is capable of sustaining, that it would stay with you. Through every bad morning, through every snooze button, through every skipped breakfast and lonely commute and broken promise of exercise, it stayed. The question this video is asking you to sit with tonight, not to answer immediately, not to solve in a single morning, is this. Given everything your heart has already given you, what kind of morning does it deserve from you tomorrow? Subscribe if you haven't already, because this is only the beginning of what we are going to discover together about the most extraordinary relationship of your life, the one with the heart that has never once let you down. Take care of it. It is the only one you have, and it chose you.